Alrighty then, today is an exciting day for me. Much better. Today, I'm going to be working on the vintage shifter cart. Well, when I say working on it, I don't mean particularly on the physical frame itself. I'm talking about the engine. So if you guys haven't seen the project tour video that I made, this is my Briggs & Stratton 10 horsepower engine. It came off of a generator, I believe, and when I got it, it didn't look like this. I fixed it up, did the valves, or I mean adjusted the valves, put this torque converter on, which is awesome. Put the air filter on, 3D printed the air filter adapter thing. This engine is going to go on the vintage shifter cart, but since I can't really do anything more to the shifter cart because I don't have the back tires, and I need the back tires to adjust the engine, and the engine needs to be on there to adjust the seat. It's really just a domino house of cards effect right now. But what I can do right now is really complete this whole engine, because the good thing about shifter carts and the thing that I love about go-karts is the engine is really just self-sustainable. Like literally the only thing that's connected to the frame is the chain and the throttle cable, but that doesn't really affect me right now. Now the last go-kart I actually had the fuel cell, the fuel tank, right here in between my feet underneath the steering column. But the problem with that is, if the fuel cell is below the carburetor, it needs a pump to pump up the fuel into the carb. That's all cool, and I mean, it looks really rad. A lot of racing go-karts have that. In practicality use, in my experience, it kind of sucks, because if you leave the go-kart sitting for more than 3 or 4 days, the fuel lines need to be primed in order for the fuel pump to work, because it runs on vacuum. Actually, this engine already has a vacuum inlet, but I capped it with this little hex nut because I'm not going to use that. I would personally use a gravity fed system, that is, the fuel tank is higher than the carb, like in the case that we're going to be doing today, so it really just relies on gravity, and gravity hasn't failed us in millions and millions of years, so I think it's more reliable. But on top of that, I have this old fire extinguisher that has expired, and I was going to throw it away, but it matches the go-kart, and it's a pretty good, decent size. If you look at the bottom here, I already drilled out a nipple for the outlet of the gasoline. Kind of jumped the gun on that one because I forgot that I should be making videos now. This is going to be mounted right above the carb, and I'm going to try to make the nipple a little bit higher than the carburetor to lessen the amount of gas that I'm going to be wasting. And if you're wondering, yes, the engine is going to be mounted like that at an angle, mainly because it looks cool, but also for the fitment issue, because the torque converter actually does go way more lower, as you could see, than the engine plate, where it braces to the plate. So yeah, I had to do that for functionality use. But also, along with the fuel cell, I'm also going to be installing the exhaust. So I'm going to go get the exhaust. But check this out. This is the powder that came off of the fire extinguisher. So if you ever wondered how that looked like, it literally just looks like chalk. Alright, so here are my exhausts. That one's too big. That one's too big. This one's a good size. The only thing I don't like about it is the end. See how it's like coated in some sort of gasket marker? I'm gonna put that to the side. That's a maybe. This is a maybe. Maybe I got one more. Ah, here we go. Right here. That's a good size. So my plan is to actually make the exhaust a short ram exhaust, so it's not going to be that much bigger than that. I mean, obviously it's going to be pointing backwards like this. Alright, so first things first is the fuel cell, and I'm going to be placing it around right there. As long as the gradient right here is pretty steep, I'll be fine with it, and as long as this nipple is right above the carburetor, that's really the main goal here. I'm going to be making the brackets out of flat stock 1/8 metal, mounting it right there above that hole so I could put a bolt and a nut at the bottom, plenty of space. It's also pretty thick, so I know it won't break. And I might also add another one down here if that one isn't strong enough, which is highly likely. I'm going to be making the brackets out of this flat stock 1/8 metal, pretty standard stuff. I'm going to be placing it right there and then bending it accordingly. Okay, so this is how the bracket looks like complete. I cut out a little notch and bent it down just so it locks it in place and it doesn't go left or right. Obviously it's doing it now because it's not tight. But once it is tightened down, this thing is not going to go anywhere. I drilled out this little hole up here for the simple fact that I'm going to be using a hose clamp to hold this down. Since this is aluminum, I can't weld onto it, which is fine because I want to be able to replace this if I need to. So I'm just going to be using a hose clamp, but I don't have a hose clamp that's this size diameter. So I'm just going to zip tie it for now, just to kind of mock it up, which is fine. Although I completely trust this 1/8 flat stock metal to hold the whole fuel cell up, I am going to add another one down here. For the simple fact that I know I'm going to be drifting this cart a lot, so the whole weight of that fuel cell going left and right is over time going to put a lot of stress on something, and that could either be the bracket that I just made or the engine block, and I really don't want the block to break. So just for safety, I'm going to make another one that's going to mount to this bottom hole right here. Same deal, it's going to go from here to the fuel cell, and I'm going to use a hose clamp to lock it in place. Alright, well, while we wait for the paint to dry on the brackets, we could do the exhaust. So luckily I have this 45-degree angle of tubing from a previous exhaust that I cut, and of course the muffler that I chose out. It's going to be as simple as tack or welding that there and then welding this here. Alright, so I got it cut and I got it placed. I had to cut the exhaust flange a little bit. Original diameter is slightly bigger than the one I want to put. It's going to restrict the flow just a slight smidge, but I'm not really worried about it for now. But I am just tempted to leave it like that. I know it's going to be super loud, but it is pretty funny. I'll think about it. No, it's better if I put this out of the get-go, because then I'll just be lazy later and never put it on, and probably start a fire that way. So let's tack weld it. Although this engine does not have any gasoline in it, it is always good practice to cover pretty much anything that could potentially explode, and also your paint and what have you. I was going to fully weld it right now, but I just realized that if I do that, and I need to relocate the exhaust at any point of this project, I'm gonna have to recut the whole welds instead of just taking off the tacks. And I can't put the engine on the go-kart right now because I don't have the wheels, and the wheels really determine where this goes. So yeah. Alright, so there we go. There it is. I like it. The color matches well. It kind of goes with the flow a little bit. I mean, it's not really much of an eyesore. Yeah, I like it. There we go. Another reason why I like this and why I replaced it from this is because I actually like transparent fuel lines. That way I could see if there's any obstruction or something's not flowing well. It's just overall much better to do it this way than use this. Don't get me wrong, this stuff has its place too, but I don't know, go-karts, the easier it is to find an issue and find a problem, the overall enjoyable experience you're going to have with that go-kart. Alright, there it is, guys. There is the semi-completed go-kart engine. Not much to do from here. Really it's just small little quirks that I gotta fix. Really, all I gotta do is put some gas in it, see if it turns on, and if it does, it's complete. Not gonna turn it on in this video because I still need to go get a gasket marker, or yeah, the gasket stuff in a tube to kind of put it around the spacer, because as is it will leak from that nipple. So I don't want it to leak. So yeah, I'm gonna do that in another video. I think I'm done for today. I've done quite a bit. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video.